I quit my job at CBS and I was making concert graphics for Lil Nas X.
This is Emonee LaRussa, an award-winning motion graphics designer who's worked with the likes of Kanye West, Dolla, Lil Nas X, the internet, and many more.
So I went from 36,000 followers to 208,000 followers within 2023. When you copy something, it's still theirs. But when you steal something, you're making it yours. And so paying projects pay the bills. Rainbow projects are what gives you creative ambition and freedom.
How do you handle the creative block when it's time for you to think about an idea and you can't just get it?
I would say...
All right, everybody. I'm super pumped today because we got Emonee LaRussa on the podcast. How are you today?
Oh, you got a soundboard.
This is a new device that he bought today. Super excited to use it.
I'm sorry, I had to give it a try. I had to give it a try. This is like the debut of the soundboard with you.
I wish that I had a soundboard for like Google Meet meetings.
Oh my God, imagine with the client, when they put reviews or comments, you just boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, like it's like, oh, the budget's been approved.
And then when it gets awkward, you can just go like...
Oh my gosh. Or when they have like revisions, they're like, we love it, but we have a few notes. And
Actually, that's a great idea.
That is a fantastic idea. We're going to use this with clients now, just because you said it. We're going to do it.
Yeah, they're going to come back, I swear.
I know they will. Or they might not ever call us again. So it can be either way. It can be
one. It's a toss-up. Yeah.
Well, it's an honor to have you on the podcast. And I just have to tell everybody how we actually got here, because me and Farad are always scrolling on Instagram, just checking out people's profiles. And then your profile was suggested. And then immediately when we saw your content, we were hooked. Not just because the content itself was great, because we saw one of your After Effects tutorials, the breakdowns that you do, but the art itself was so freaking unique. When we started, we were like, how is she so creative? And then we started stalking you just more.
The spiral going down, and it's like 15 minutes we are just scrolling.
Yeah, so the reason we didn't get any work done.
Instagram is doing that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You know what? The reason we didn't get any work done yesterday, and actually, I think yesterday we were stalking you even more. It was probably because we were on your page for like a good hour, just checking out everything you've done. And I gotta say, just looking at some of the things you posted and also checking out your website and all that, you have won 2 Emmy Motion Graphics Artist Awards, one of which is broken, by the way. I saw that video as well. We got to talk about that later on and find out exactly how that happened. But more so than that, you have worked with the likes of Kanye West, Dolla for music visuals, lyric videos. You've done so much great work. And again, just the creativity that you have is something that made us go like, wow. I want to know and figure out your daily routine. How do you come up with ideas and break all of these down, source of inspiration? And that's what we're going to talk about today. But I think the easiest thing for everybody is to go all the way back to realize how you became who you are today. So if you don't mind, maybe you can walk us through, I don't know where would be a good starting point, maybe college, maybe high school, where you started working on your art. And then we can try to break down the moments and see how you got here today.
Yeah, so it first started when I was in high school. Like my sister got a camera, and so we were just like filming, and it was like a really shitty little like flip camera, and we were just filming things around the house, and we were like filming music videos and stuff. Like I remember just like there was like a Jonas Brothers where I was just like recording her like with the Guitar Hero guitar. And then it like translated to like wanting to like make like fully edited music videos. And so it like just transitioned, like slowly started transitioning. And I realized like, oh my gosh, like people are liking this. Like my family is like, they're laughing, they're having a good time. And in school, I have always been kind of like a hard worker, but I haven't been, I grew up with a super like gnarly speech impediment. I have like really bad dyslexia. So like actually like pen to paper has been like, an uphill battle for me. So with creating like visuals, that was like an easy way for me to like make something that was like fun and entertaining, but not like have to rely on my illiterate speaking. And so I started like in high school, I was in the International Baccalaureate program. So it's basically like they set you up for like, you could get college credits in high school through this program. And it's a 4-year program. So the first 2 years, you're just prepping to be into the program.
Okay.
And then the last 2 years, that's when you can take film. So I took like an IB film class, and I was like going above and beyond trying to get stuff like super crazy ideas. And my friend Austin, he introduced me to After Effects and Video Copilot, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Andrew
like,
Kramer?
I didn't know you could do this. And Andrew Kramer.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so and also like a huge inspiration at the time was like watching like Mike Diva, who was like making like these music videos. Like he had a video called I'm on Crack, and it was just an insane idea of this dude who's like on crack, and everything is like insane, and all the visuals were just like really cool. And I was like, wait, you could make really cool, fun things and like be known for it and get paid for it and work on fun projects. And so that really pushed me towards wanting to do that. And I thought that I wanted to do cinematography with just like a taste of like visual effects and motion graphics. And when I went to film school, being that I was like one of the only girls that was like in my classes, I was just really slapped in the face of the reality that like, oh, I need to like go above and beyond to get the respect of a mediocre guy.
Right.
And I had realized very quickly that like that wasn't attainable for me. Like I'm very feminine, and I'm in a school with like bro dudes. And it was like it was difficult because I was like, you can't be a cinematographer without a gaffer, director, actors, all these, you need a crew. And so when I had realized that like, oh, I can't do this by myself, I started pushing more towards like motion graphics, visual effects stuff. And I feel like, everything happens for a reason, because I love what I do now. And honestly, I don't have the back for being a cinematographer. So maybe being discriminated was meant to be. I'm looking at the brighter side on that. But I started doing like motion graphic stuff. And it's interesting because I get asked like, how did you break into the field? I was doing Craigslist like stuff. Like I was doing stuff on Craigslist for like $50 for an animation. And
what?
I was like, yeah. So I would just scour Craigslist and just try to get any gig that I can. I would send my resume. At that time I was working at a gym, and I was their cinematographer there. And I was just like trying to like get any job that I can to show that I could do like motion graphic stuff. And eventually it's like when I finished school, I made like a whole film, and I was the only person that was like, I was directing it, sound design, visual effects editor, like I was doing everything. And it's funny because when I look back at like my old high school films and the credits, it's like scriptwriter Emonee, producer Emonee. And like it was like when I went to college, like nothing had changed. And so when I graduated from college, or like I think it was like a little bit before I graduated, I got hired at CBS News, and just like at the Sacramento like CBS 13, and that kind of like expanded my horizon of like things that I could do, because I worked in the like promo department. So this was like commercials and stuff. And so I was really trying to like show what I could do. And so some of the news anchors were like, I want to use you for my stories.
Oh my God.
And that's how I was able to get like my Emmys, was because I was able to work on their campaigns. And so I ended up like getting to a point where I was like, I can't grow anymore here. You know, like I want to do like music visuals. And it was something like music has always been something that I really wanted to be a part of, like since I was a kid, you know, making music videos. And I was just like, I mind you, the 40-hour-a-week job that I was doing there, I was working another 20 hours a week doing freelance gigs on top of that. So like I was working like 60 to 72 hours a week at that time, but I was all hyped up on 5-hour energy drinks at that time. So
Wow.
like I couldn't imagine doing that now.
Yeah.
But I always say, like, if you have the energy, do it, you know? And so I ended up just like working. I did like this collab, or not this collab, I did this piece for Tyler the Creator, and I put it out, and I was like, it was an unofficial artwork, and I put it out, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I really hope Tyler could see it. And Columbia Records ended up like seeing it, and they liked it on Twitter, and I, you know, shot my shot.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey Columbia, you know, if you liked it so much, why don't you hire me?
Nice.
And sure enough, I got a message from John Vincent, who was like the visual coordinator for Columbia Records, and he was like, send me an email. And this guy's worked with Beyonce, Pharrell, all
Wow.
these amazing people. So like within a week, I quit my job at CBS, and I was making concert graphics for Lil Nas X.
Wait,
Like,
that's just because one tweet, right?
yeah.
Just
But mind you, I was making fan art for so many different artists at the time. So
Yes.
I had the portfolio to be like, I could do this, you know? And I had did concert graphics for the internet. My first set of concert graphics was for the internet, which is my heart and soul. I love the internet because they reached out to Lil me. Like I did the same thing where it was on Twitter, where I was like, I really hope they can see my work. And then they responded, and my friend from high school was like, yo, internet, like you should hire her. Like she's super good. And they were like, on it. And I opened my phone and I saw that it said on it, and I was like, and it was so crazy. So they gave me that first little like glimmer of hope to be able to like make concert graphics, and then it just kind of like expanded from there, and I quit my job, and I've been freelance for the past like 4 years, and it's been going great.
Wow. I have so many questions.
You go first.
Okay.
I have, oh my God, I'm gonna hold it.
Okay.
You go first.
No, I want to know, when did you start your social media journey? Because when I heard about the tweet part, of course that tweet got seen, and then you got the new job offer and everything, but you said you were posting consistently before that. So when was the moment you said, let me share my work to the internet, to the world?
Yeah, so I had never really used social media to like I had never had the intention of being like a influencer until 2023. I had made
What?
like
Who?
okay
2023?
yeah,
Are you serious?
which was last year.
Have you seen your Instagram page?
So what's crazy is, so I had, up until that point, I was just making art, and then it was just a symptom of my making art where I was like, oh yeah, and I'll post it on social media. And like I wasn't like doing everything to like, okay, I'm going to be an influencer. Like I had never set that intention until like it was my New Year's resolution from last year. So I went from 36,000 followers to 208,000 followers within 2023. And it was just, you know, a lot of studying the algorithm of what works and stuff. But before that, I was just like an artist that just put things online. And so I was using, and I really like encourage other artists who want to like break out in any industry to use social media to their advantage of being able to get their work in front of like producers and stuff. Because at the end of the day, like I think we have shifted from the traditional like, oh, you have to send your resume, you have to do it this way. And a lot of these producers, a lot of these visual coordinators are accessible online. Like they have Instagrams, they have like accounts, and a lot of times the way that they seek out like creators is through word of mouth, where like they're like, oh, I have a friend who knows somebody, or oh, I worked with this person on this project, so I'll ask them again. But if you give them exactly what they need on a silver platter, they're like, oh, I didn't know that you existed before,
Yes.
you know? So, and a lot of times these people have like 1,000 to like 5,000 followers, you know, they're not trying to be influencers. They're just normal people who just so happen to work with the companies that you want to work with, you know? So I had definitely like, when I got noticed by these companies, I had like 8,000 followers. Like I didn't really have a whole bunch of followers on Instagram, so, or Twitter. I hate Twitter.
But your tweet got seen on Twitter. Is
It's
a
got
lot.
me gigs. I despise the format of it. I hate it. Or X now.
Are you just like posting it and then close the laptop like, oh?
Just post and go.
I swear I do. Sometimes I forget and I like open it and I have a whole bunch of notifications. So I'm like, oh, I forgot to engage on that post.
Well, you know, everybody has their social media platform preferences. I understand that. And Instagram is definitely one of our favorites as well when it comes to art, right? It's one of the best places to find good artists to work with. It's really easy to DM people. And, you know, most of our guests from the podcast, actually, we DM on Instagram. So that's really good. But I just want to talk about something that I really enjoyed from everything you mentioned about your history. People, I think, neglect nowadays the actual manifestation that you can do on social media. It's so true. If you want to work with somebody, all you have to do is just post content related to that person. And more often than not, they're going to find you. It happens so many times that I've seen artists do fan art of a specific artist, like a musical DJ or, you know, a singer. And then I see them working with them the year after that. You know, they get picked up.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. And I feel like people neglect it.
With me and Mike Diva. Like I told you before, I was like, yo, Mike Diva was my idol growing up, like him and Andrew Kramer. And I worked on that Lil Nas X, like I worked on a music video and he did the live action of that music video. And so I like reached out, I just commented on his stuff and I was like, one day I'm gonna work with you. And he like reached back out to me and was like, yeah, like let's do it. And I was like, oh, like you're serious? Like you're for real? Like this is insane. And he's like, yeah, whenever you're in LA, just like let me know. And I was like, oh my God. And at the time I was like getting my hair done. It was like about like a week later, I was getting my hair done and she's like, so what's new? And I'm telling her like all about this. She's like, so when did you go to LA? And I was like, oh, I didn't. She's like, so you're telling me your idol contacted you about wanting to work with you and you haven't taken that up? And I was like, oh my God. And I booked a flight that week and like ended up going out to LA. So it was crazy.
Wow. There was another
Manifesting.
100%.
Real quick, did you know that there's an app on your phone called Polycam that lets you take giant environments and turn them into photorealistic 3D scenes? You don't believe me, do you? We're talking as giant as Burj Al Arab.
We wanted to recreate Burj Al Arab, so we literally went around it, scanned it using our phone and Polycam, brought it into Unreal Engine, and made this video. This tech is called Gaussian splatting, and it's unbelievable.
This is just one of the cool things that we use Polycam for in our workflow, and there are thousands of people just like us taking in large environments and objects into their 3D scenes. I mean, just check this out. We got a city, we got like a castle. Like a car? This is crazy. Now, we use Polycam in our videos all the time, and so we decided to talk to them to see if we can get you guys, the Bad Decisions fam, a sweet deal. And guess what? Right now, you can go to Polycam, sign up for a free account, and try to create your splats. But you'll have a 150 photo limit or a 3-minute video limit.
If you go pro, however, you can take up to 1,000 photos and 15-minute long videos. That means higher quality and accuracy in your captures and bigger environments.
To go pro, you need to pay these amounts monthly or yearly. But if you go ahead and write the name Bad Decisions in the promo code tab,
you get 30% off, baby.
link in the description. Let's get back into the pod.
There was another part of your life when you mentioned you were working 40 hours a week, 20 hours also freelancing. What was the drive and motivation to do the freelance work? Was it the passion for motion graphics? Was it working with different artists, different clients, just getting experience?
Sometimes it's also the economics, right? I mean, I worked extra and I just wanted to make more money at the time to save for anything else that I wanted to buy. Yeah, what was the drive for you at the time?
I would also say a little bit of both, where it was like I was able to make some more money. I had just fresh got out of a relationship and I was like, it'd be good to, support myself here. And then I just genuinely felt like there was a possibility that I could make it. Like there was just like, every gig that I got made me feel like I was a little closer. And I was like, oh, I know I could do this. I know that I could do this. And like, I felt like having that like self-talk, like really pushed me to where like, I was like, okay, even though it's only $50, $50 I didn't have before. And I was really looking at it as like portfolio. I really was like, I need to make sure that when I do get hired, I could say that I've worked with all these companies. And so I think it was a little bit of money, a little bit of passion, and just like the logistics of being like, I need a portfolio. Like I need clients that I've worked with. So I'm willing to take, a $50 cut just so that I could, say that I worked with this shitty little company.
Right.
Oh, I cuss. Sorry.
No, that's already, that's fine. We cuss all the time, so it's okay.
Okay, good.
One thing I want to know is you mentioned you were at about 60,000 followers and then you made the content creation a serious part of your journey. Then you jumped all the way to above 200,000 now, which is a huge jump in such a short span of time. What sort of difference do you see in your work now that you've gained that? So I just want to make that difference for people who are maybe like you, who've posted their art, but they haven't taken content creation seriously like you have done. How much of a difference and impact have you seen with the way you work with clients and with the way you're getting approached to do work?
Yeah, so I went from 30,000.
Sorry, 30. So even
like,
more.
Even more.
No, you're totally fine. I sometimes I need to like think back and be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like it really, and I was stuck at 30,000 for like a year or two. So basically what I had did was I really tried to break down what worked on social media and really figure out like why people like certain things, because I think it's very easy as a creator to look at other people's stuff who are really like have really great engagement. And you're like, how does that get it? Like, how does that have that? When like I see work all the time where it's like, this person is amazing at what they do and they only have 1,000 followers. And like this person,
it doesn't make sense. Yes.
And so like, yeah. And so I really started breaking down what made them like, what made people want to follow them, And so what I had found was people want to connect with other people. And so one thing, have you ever on social media, like someone had posted something and then you're talking about it later with someone, you're like, oh yeah, my friend had posted that on Instagram, but you've never met them before. You've never talked to them before. You've never had a conversation with them, but somehow you feel connected with them because you have seen their face, you know who they are, you somehow know their kid or their dog, and I feel like that connectiveness is what can make people feel like they are a part of your like story. And so I had went from like never really showing my face to now always showing my face. And I feel like it's just easier for people to see like there is a person behind like what I'm creating. Another thing that I had kind of realized was the grasp for visual effects was so much bigger than it was for motion graphics. And I know this may seem a little hard to hear for people who are like pursuing motion graphics. Motion graphics is a very lucrative field. It's not huge for influencers. It's just not. Like, you're not typically seeing people who, like, there are probably a handful of people who strictly do motion graphics and don't show their face and have like over 200,000 followers. But it's just, I think the issue with motion graphics is that people tend to connect that to commercials. And so when they see that, they're like, oh, this is an ad. And so I think when you show like your face more, people are just like, oh, this is a content creator. This is like an influencer. And it's not saying that like motion graphics, I continue to love and like I appreciate, but I had realized when I would show a motion graphics piece to someone who didn't know motion graphics, they'd be like, oh, cool. And it's like, cool. I spent 3 weeks on this. Like, I want more than that.
That's
you know? In comparison to like doing something that was like visual effects, people can grasp that because they see it in their day-to-day life. They see this in movies, they see this in films and TV and stuff. And so it felt like the audience for visual effects was a lot easier to like join in. And so what I feel like I was able to bring to the table was the technical skill of motion graphics with the knowledge of like the visual effects world. And so I had realized like, not only do I want to create art, but I want to create like how I make it, not only to like help, like I hate gatekeeping. I hate like the idea of like holding information so that no one steals my idea.
Oh my God.
Every idea is stolen. So like the fact that people think that it's just not a healthy way to think. And I think it hinders people from being able to like get feedback from other people outside of themselves. And to me, it not only provides like education for people who want to learn, but it opens the door of a whole new audience. And so the way that I've looked at it was, how many times have you watched a video, like a DIY video on like a kitchen being remodeled? Like, or like something that you're never going to do. Like, you watch that video from beginning to end, knowing damn well you're not about to strip the paint off of your kitchen cabinets, you know? But it's this feeling that I feel like I get when I'm watching it, where it's like, it's satisfying. Like, it feels good to watch something from like A to B, like from completion. And so I was like, I think that if I could create entertaining content like that, it opens a whole new door of an audience. Because to be honest, there is only a small percentage of people who seek out art. I seek out art, but like, I can't expect that everyone else does that. It's like a 5-10% of the population that really are just like, they only follow artists, you know, but like, there are more people who do seek out satisfying videos or entertaining videos.
Absolutely.
And so being able to create content that is around something that opens to a whole new audience really shifted my mindset of like how I'm gonna start creating stuff. So I get to like kill 2 birds with 1 stone, where it's like I get to make educational stuff and get to help people who are in my field, and I get to create content for people who may not like want to create this, but just enjoy watching things get completed. And then I get to show my face, where like I get to connect with people and they get to see that like I'm a person and I'm not a brand, and like I'm friendly and I'm a woman of color. Like I want to like show that like representation. And so all those things kind of played into a factor of like how I was able to kind of gain that audience over this period of time.
I love that. I love that. And just to go to the DIY, I used to watch somebody make tea, and it was such a relaxing video. It was on TikTok. I'm never going to make tea, but it was such a relaxing video. I had to watch it. Like, the music was just right, and then his voice was really soothing. And I was like, okay, this is nice. I'm just going to keep watching this.
I was watching a guy making coffee.
Satisfying.
Yeah, it's really interesting because what you said is right. You haven't changed your art. You changed the format of your videos, like the delivery of the videos. You made it more personal, more about you. When I say more about you, not in a selfish way, but you shared more about you. So actually being more open to the audience, and that attracts. And I think, especially 2024, I was watching another video today, how it is now literally the time to be even more raw with your content. Like, you can edit your content completely fine, but the more raw you are and the more open you are with your audience, the higher the chance of people connecting with you. And
actually, when I was going through your Instagram, you know, the videos that you put on the behind the scene of how you use green screen in your house and you're struggling to take those are the interesting ones. Like, I really want to see those, the struggles for you to get that shot rather than the final piece of art that you make. So really, it really makes a big difference. But looking back at all the things that you made, of course, all the artwork, what is the source of inspiration for you? Because we've seen things that I've never seen before.
Yeah, so I am constantly inspired by like different art mediums. So like I have this whole book on MC Esker, who's like an amazing like psychedelic illusion illustrator. He makes like really, have you ever seen the stairs pieces where all the stairs are like in different like areas and locations? He made that piece.
Right. Okay.
Iconic. Like, it's like
I gotta check it out.
surrealism.
I have to check it out again. Is it like a book? You said it's a book.
I have a book that I look back on, but he's made like a whole bunch of different like illustrations over the course of his lifetime. But like surrealism is like a huge inspiration to me, like paintings, illustrations, fashion photography. Those have been like kind of like even sculptures. Like I really try to take in as much like media and content as possible and see how I can translate that over into motion graphics and visual effects. So like before, I felt like I had such bad imposter syndrome because I have always felt all over the place. Like I never felt like I had a style. I never felt like I was able to like attach myself to an idea. Like I was always
I can't even believe you're saying that. I can't believe those words are coming out of your mouth.
Then you should tell. Oh my God! If you're saying that, then what should other people say? Come on.
It's so real. Like I like, okay. One thing that always like terrified me was the fact that like, you ever see those people who like grab a pen and paper and they start like doodling and then they make like a beautiful art piece. It's like that came from your brain. Like I can't do that. And it always made me feel less of an artist. And so when I was in college, something that my teacher said to me that like absolutely changed my perspective and also showed me this documentary, but he basically was like, you can try to create a different type of chair, but it's still a chair. The chair has already been invented. So like you trying to like spend this energy to make something that is like a chair, but not a chair, like it's a chair. Like stop wasting your time. And so I had just like accepted the fact that like I was hindering myself from becoming a better artist by not being able to take in different perspectives and interpretations of things. And like, I think that if you were to put somebody in a box and never show them color or anything, they wouldn't be able to create. Like, I think that people create because they see life and experiences and different things. Even if you're unconsciously like taking it in, like you're still being inspired by things. So I'm very intentional about like what I want to like take in as like my information of like things that I want to be inspired by. And then I go and I find those things and I take a deeper dive and like I find the photographers and I find like all the different things that I feel like would help me like really mold my ideas. Because there's times where like I'm like, you know, it'd be a cool idea if like the piece that I had with like the meat, I was like, you know, it'd be cool like showing how women are like looked at as like a piece of meat. And like that idea ran to like, okay, what does meat look like? Okay, what does this look like? And like being able to just like do and jump to all these different ideas, that helps me like really create things. I create like a word tree, and that really helps me break things down to where it's like if I have an idea or like a rough idea, or even if I see a picture of like a person doing something, I could like really like psychoanalyze like what does this mean, and then like try to like break that down and then break those words down, and then I look up those words like individually. So yeah, that's kind of my creative process.
Okay, so you're making it sound simple, but I'm just gonna use one of your art pieces that I remember as an example. You had your head on a flower. No, that was another one. We can talk about both, and then you can explain to us how the hell you came up with those. So you had your head on I think it was a sunflower or a flower, and then the flower was moving. It was coming out of a floor, and then there was somebody walking with high heels at the back, and then just stepping on the floor.
It was a chessboard. It was a chessboard.
And then you had the other one, which was, what was the other one?
Your head was in a plastic bag. Oh my God.
Like where you hold the goldfish, and then your body was at the back without the head. Like, how do you come up with these? Because they're so different from each other as well.
Yeah, so the flower one, so when I was younger, I was obsessed with Alice in Wonderland. And like I even made like a short film in high school that was like totally Alice in Wonderland themed. So throughout my whole life, I feel like I've always tried to incorporate the checkerboard from Alice in Wonderland. I've always tried to incorporate like little aspects of that. I think it's just implanted on my brain from like child development. But like there's a scene, a very small scene in that movie where these flowers are singing, and they have their little faces and stuff. And so it was like that. I was inspired by that. And then the fish one was such an interesting, because my ideas shifted based on what I was able to do. So like initially I wanted to be completely submerged in water, because I wanted to feel like I was like drowning. And I shot that so many times and I could not get it. It was the most frustrating thing. Working with water, I will never work with water.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's going to be like against my will. Like I did not enjoy it. It was cold. And so I figured out a way of being able to create that idea with what I had. And so I was able to like, okay, maybe instead of submerging my entire body, what if I just do my head? And then I was like, but how am I going to get my head in this? So it was really just like breaking down like the technical part, and it changed the idea of it. But like the concept stayed the same of like me like drowning, but it kind of shifted to like now it's like self-inflicted drowning, because I'm holding myself like drowning. And so yeah, it's interesting, the whole process of how that went, but it was like weeks of me trying to figure this out and finally making that piece.
It was a beautiful piece. And you had another video which was talking about stealing like an artist, and I think a lot of artists have already heard that.
I love that video.
The video that you made, we're gonna maybe leave the description, description box, so you guys can check it out. You basically put out a lot of the movies and films and series that have taken reference from their shots, from the stories, from older series and older film. And people might have only seen the latest one thinking that was the first time that it was created. That was the first, like the genesis. That was like the debut of that idea. But it wasn't.
Yeah.
And your way of explaining how as artists, we're always stealing work. Like great artists can steal work. Not copying. Yeah. Could you help clarify that idea and maybe just talk a little bit more about what you had in your mind when you were recording that video?
Yeah. So I was initially inspired by, so when I brought back when I was in college, and my teacher had said that he'd also shown us this documentary called Everything is a Remake. And it was this really well put together, I think his name is like Kirby Ferguson. But he had taken all these scenes from Star Wars that were an exact like shot for shot from other films. And it had really felt like Star Wars is considered one of the most original films of all time.
Yes.
Like when you think about Star Wars, like, oh my gosh, everything that is now science fiction after is like, oh, they're just copying Star Wars.
Yes.
But it's like, in reality, Star Wars was like copying all these other films. And so I think a lot of times people get like really focused in on like, I need to make the most original thing ever. And it's just like, it's not helpful. And when we see amazing directors or like the most iconic people, I'm not even kidding, if you look up the most original artists, you will be able to find a list of people who have stolen from other people. Like every single one of them have like stolen from other people, and they're vocal about it. And I think Albert Einstein had said like, and I'm gonna butcher this, but he had said like, a great artist is an artist who can create something with hiding their references. And so I think it's the idea of like being inspired by something, but as soon as you start copying T for T, and it's like becomes like, oh, this is where it came from. Like you could tell where the origin of this came from. It's no longer your piece, it's their piece. And I feel like when you like copy something, and someone left a comment that really like, I love the way that they put this. They said, when you copy something, it's still theirs. But when you steal something, you're making it yours. And so
This is so
Good.
good.
That is good. That is good.
Yeah.
I hope you pinned the comment, by the way.
I think I did.
Okay, good.
But if I didn't, they deserve their flowers. But it was just like, it was such a like, wow, like that's such a great perspective, because when I look at like stealing art, I think of like artists as like collage artists. Like you're literally taking little pieces of work together and you're putting it all together. And recently I've had like some of my work, like I had like other people who had created my work, but like copied it to a T. And I make tutorials and I want to encourage people to like learn from them, but I want them to expand on it. And I feel like when, like, if you need to copy it to learn, totally. I feel like when I first started out, like I was tracing, I was trying to figure out, oh, okay, this is how that worked. But I think there's a difference when like people are like profiting off of like tracing, or like I feel like there's an ethical code, you know.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's not that you can't take an idea and like run with it. I want people to be inspired by my stuff. Like I want people to like, how do they see self-inflicted drowning, you know? How do they use that technique that I used and like implement it in different things? But like I made that video to really encourage people, because I don't think that, like, I didn't know when I was like stealing art before, I felt so guilty. I felt like, oh my God, I'm not a real artist. Like I'm getting all this inspiration from other things, but I can't think of those ideas on my own. And when I was kind of shown that film, and when I was like talked about it more by other bigger artists, it was like, oh, this is something that I shouldn't feel shame about. Like this is something that I want to like encourage other people to like dive into other perspectives, dive into like other art mediums and see how that shapes your own mind, you know? And so that's why I wanted to make that, to like bring awareness to that and like just kind of show like it's okay, but there is a clear line between copying and stealing. So like steal, don't copy.
Yes. I think it's also pretty obvious to yourself. I think you'll realize when you're stealing or when you're copying. It's kind of obvious to yourself, so you'll know very clearly when that's the case.
Yeah.
But I absolutely agree with you. I think pretty much nothing in this world is original. It's always been an inspiration from somewhere. Sometimes it's a conscious inspiration, you know it. Sometimes it's subconscious, a mix of everything you've experienced in your life, and you can't even pinpoint where it is, but it's something you've seen or you've heard, and now it's in your art, in your creation, whatever that may be. So I absolutely agree with that, and I think it's really important.
I think we are talking about creativity and the ideas, but how do you handle the creative block when it's time for you to think about an idea and you can't just get it?
I would say Pinterest. Pinterest always gets me out of everything because when I'm like in a creative block, I'm not looking at these like inspiration as like, I need to find an idea from this. I just look at it as like, oh, I like this. I like this. Like it makes me feel good when I look at this, you know? And so I take that and then I turn it into an idea. So like when I have creative blocks, which are all the time.
Thank God.
I'll go on.
Thank God. I feel normal now.
Yeah. No, it's not like I don't just wake up and I'm like, oh, I just had a dream of this idea and I'm going to implement. Like, no, it's usually like a whole process, and I'm very intentional about it. And I think that, and I was doing this consistently, but I have fallen off this year because I just got bombarded with work in these past few weeks. But I had concept and design days where like I would just sit down and I would just look at stuff that I liked, and I didn't like have any ideas in mind. I just created folders where it was just like, I like these pictures, or I like these animations or whatever. And I later on, when I'm like thinking of ideas, I'm like, oh, that could work for that. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, finding a time where you don't have as much energy, and then finding the times where you have a whole bunch of energy. If you have like a shit ton of energy, like maybe that's the day that you go and you try to find all these different things and you put it in your vault, you know, you save it for other times. Because I have a whole folder of just ideas of like things that I've been like, oh, I could do that. Or, oh, I could do that. And so like that whole, like, I'm pretty sure, hold on, let me see.
Do you have it?
I do. I have like a whole list of ideas.
Is it?
Yeah, I have content ideas.
Okay.
So it's just like this
Oh my God.
whole list of things where I'm like, okay, this would be a cool idea.
Wow.
And then I whenever I'm feeling like I have a creative block, I'll just go back to that and be like, oh yeah, I remember I thought of that idea. Let me try to expand on that more. So when you have the energy, put all your time into that. And when you're in a creative block, that's fine. Like you could totally be in that, but you could always refer back to like the things that you've implemented before, you know?
You know, it's so interesting you brought that up, because me and Farhad were in a creative block about 2 weeks ago, and we did exactly the opposite of what you said. The reason why I was biting my lips right now, because I realized what you said was so true. We were intentionally going to Behance and ArtStation and then just looking at everything, just like,
Come up with an idea.
Have you seen Horrible Bosses, the meme of the guy with all the lines at the back and he's like sweating and he's trying to connect the dots?
Yeah, that's from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Well, then it's the same actor. That's why I thought he was Horrible Bosses. But it was just that's the face we had on, and we're just trying to really connect the dots, and it wasn't working. I think it was Rick Rubin, who's all about creativity, that also said sometimes you have to be unintentional about it. You have to let go and then try to just look at different inspirations and try to make sure you give that enough time and not be like, you know, all tough and all like intense, it's like tense about it.
Stress. Yeah, because it's like, oh, I have to think of this idea now. And then you're like, why can't I think of an idea now? I must be shit. And it's like, you start falling down a rabbit hole, and it's like, just taking it in of just being like, I like this piece. Like, I want to save this piece. And like, when you are in like a better like headspace, going back to it and be like, oh yeah, now I can think about it in like a different perspective. You know, it's okay to work on something and then walk away and like do something else. And like that helps me a whole bunch.
Perfect. Let's talk about pre-production. You had another video, which was also amazing. Yeah. And you said that, I believe this was something similar to what you said. You can correct me if I'm wrong, that the reason that a lot of projects or a lot of ideas might fail is because of the lack of pre-production. And you were talking about the significance of referencing, of planning before you get started with a project. We have seen proof of this with our own work. I just want you to talk a little bit about it from your own experience.
Yeah, so I have found that the projects that were easier for me to like work on have been projects that I thoroughly planned out. And I think the worst thing for an artist's like passion and motivation is feeling overwhelmed when you're working on something. Like that could kill a dream. And so if you could create preventative measures to stop you from feeling that overwhelmedness, because I feel overwhelmed when I'm like doing something and then I'm like, oh, that didn't work. And, oh, I didn't. And then I got to go back and I didn't prepare for this. And then that makes me feel like I need to start over. And it makes me feel like, should I even do this project? I don't even want to do this anymore, you know? And so I feel like that overwhelmedness can just absolutely kill your passion. So what I do, and this really came from like me, when I was in film and like learning the ins and outs of like pre-production and how extensive that is in comparison to like how the production and post-production is. And so I had realized that every failed project, like every failed film was because they didn't have good pre-production.
Right.
And so it translates over to like every other project, you know? And so I really started sitting down and just trying to like, let me just spend the time to create a rough outline. Let me just shoot this real quick. I'm not going to put a full face of makeup on. I'm just going to try to like see if this works. And then it doesn't work. And I do test shots and I do this and I do that. And it's like, cool. I figured this out now. So when I go put a full face of makeup on and I'm actually shooting, I'm not like having to be like, oh, that didn't work. And I have to reshoot it on a different day. It's just a waste of time. And so I had basically found that like my projects that were the best, that gave me like the happiest feeling afterwards, was the ones that I did extensive pre-production on. And I find this with like a lot of people who are like getting into like different fields. Like my partner's in game developing and he just created like his first game.
Wow.
And afterwards he's like towards the end of it and he's like, oh, I should have did this. Oh, I should have did this. But he just started, like he just figured out how to do all these things for his first game. And so this next time around, he's created a new game and he's very like structured and trying to think about, okay, let me try to do this. And I think it just gives you like better hope on the project and it makes you avoid feeling overwhelmed in the end because you know the direction that you're going to take. And even if it like deviates off a little, you did all this like back like work, like this front end work that allowed you to like, oh, now I can take time to like fix this issue that I'm troubleshooting, you know? So very, very big fan of pre-production.
I think we should incorporate that way more in our work because that's something that sometimes we suffer really. But now we talk about pre-production. I want to talk about the definition of done for you, because for creative work, it's very hard to draw that line when the artwork is finished, when that piece is finished. I could work on this for another week or another month. When do you say, okay,
like on a single frame, I could work for another month?
You know, sometimes I'm just getting Faraz out, like, stop color grading, stop it. We have to post this video. How do you define that? Like, this is done.
It goes back to pre-production. Like it literally, once I create a rough of all of my pieces before I actually do it. Like I always do a test. So like if it's kind of like in film, like if the script is done, you filmed everything in the script, what else are you going to add to it? You know, like I feel like it's kind of the same thing. If you could create a script and outline for what you're creating, what else do you need to add to it? You know, like I think that you should also like have the intention of like, I need to make sure that I include color grading. I need to make sure that I include sound effects. So that stuff doesn't feel like it's being added on later. Like once you have like the intention of being like, I got to include all of this stuff, you have just like a grocery list of things that you need to like include. Once those are all marked off, I feel like you know that you're done. That's how I typically work. Like I'm very much not like, I'm not trying to add anything else afterwards because I feel happy with my test. Like I feel good with that. So like, if I know that I've hit everything on my check mark, I'm good. Take this piece, put it on the internet.
I agree with you so much, because we were working on this thing, definitely didn't do the right pre-production for it, because every single time we were rendering it out and we were like, we got to change this, we got to change that. And then we were reaching the deadline. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable with this. I need to buy more time. So I'm like asking Farah, can we push the deadline another week? He's like, no. I'm like,
yeah,
but I can spend so much time. I can make this look better. So it's really important to know exactly what you want to create. I think the only problem with it is when you're doing pre-production for projects that have a short timeline, you start freaking out if you're spending, let's say, a quarter of that time on pre-production and you don't have the right ideas. That's usually the time I started freaking out. I'm like, okay, I got to start something. And then I go into it. Do you have any solution for those clients or for those projects where like the short timeline is there?
Yeah. So I would say the biggest reason why I had to take a step back from the music industry was because I realized that I wasn't able to grow based on how short the deadlines were. And so working with clients, there needs to be like such great communication on delivery and like being able to work on a timeline that over exceeds like what you think you can do and then trying to beat it before. Like I feel like it's better to like over deliver than under, and you're never going to grow as an artist if you don't have time to get better. Like if you are in projects that are constantly short deadlines, you're gonna stay stagnant because you have no time to learn to implement like new things. Like you can't troubleshoot right now. You have to get this project done tomorrow. And it's like when you're learning and you have the flexibility to troubleshoot, it allows you to like get better at like what you're doing. And I feel like there's not as much pressure to like, oh my God, I need to be like, it's not coming out the way that I want it to. And I have a super short deadline. I feel like it needs to be like this conversation of like, I know that you want it by Friday, but like, this time, and this is before, like you don't wait until you're actually on the project to let them know. Like it's always like realistically it's going to take this amount of time, and I know that when I get it to you it's going to be amazing. And if they like have like they're like, no, we absolutely can't do it in this time, like okay, then I can give you less. There's like there should never be like you can't give them 100% if they can't give you 100% of the time. Like one thing that I would do with clients was I would provide a treatment of this budget and this timeline. And then I'd give them another treatment that said this budget and this timeline, which was shorter in what they wanted. And it's like, you could have this, but now that you've seen this great treatment that has all this nice little pretty stuff that I know that you
did the Apple thing. You did the Apple thing. You're like, do you want this MacBook or do you want this one with higher storage? And you're probably going to need this one right here.
Yeah, and it's just a few $1,000s more.
And like, it's always going to work. It always works.
Yeah. And it's just like, I think like creative directors and people like these producers, they don't know how the behind the scenes of these projects look. They they're managing it. They're taking care of all the paperwork. So it's like, if you could explain to them with a bigger budget, with more time, I can get all of these done. And like, that's why I think communication is like very, very like important. Like I just submitted a treatment for a piece. It's 3 art pieces and the deadline is very short, but I was like, I could totally do 3 art pieces, but this is what I'm able to get to you with this time frame. And like having that like clear communications instead of waiting until I'm like a project and I'm like, can you give me 3 more days? You know, it just flows a lot better, you know? So
thank you for that tip. I really appreciate that, by the way. I think that's really important because there's a lot of 3D artists who watch and listen to this podcast. And I think it works exactly the same way across the board. So this is definitely a good tip for them to take in.
In terms of working with clients, so you create a lot of content on your social media platform where you have the ultimate creative freedom to create whatever you want. When working with client, usually there is direction, usually there are briefs. How do you compare these two? Do you prefer working in an environment that you are given the ultimate freedom to create whatever you want based on your style? Or no, you prefer to have a brief, to tell you exactly what color palette to use or go down to all the details?
Yeah, so it really depends on like the project and the client, but like to be honest, I feel like if you can show them exactly what you plan on doing, they are more likely going to do what you want to do. Like when you're pitching them ideas and you're like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? They don't know.
Yeah.
That's why they hired you. So it's like being able to show them visually, this is exactly how I plan it. This is the color palette that I'm going to use. This is like how long it's going to be. Like it's a lot easier to translate over like, okay, this is my visual idea. And they will more than likely like go to that concept. If for any reason they're like, we have a very strict, we have a very strict color palette, we have to include these. I think for those projects, those are the, I don't know if you guys have read this book, but it's called The Freelance Manifesto. And
I have not.
I recommend this book. Okay, get this book.
Okay.
This book changed my life. This book is the reason why, like a big reason why I quit my job at CBS.
Oh, so we have to put the book in the description again.
Yes. Everybody read the book.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you like?
I'm not sponsored by the book. It's just amazing.
What do you like most about the book?
So it just explains the difference between pain projects, like PAIN, and rainbow projects.
Okay.
And he was saying that pain projects pay the bills. Rainbow projects are what gives you creative like ambition and freedom and stuff. And pain projects sound good when you need to pay your mortgage or your house off, blah, blah, blah. That's awesome. Rainbow projects don't necessarily pay the bills, but it fills you up with like, ooh, now I have all these great ideas and I could put this on my portfolio. So now when another client reaches out to me, I'm able to show them my portfolio for this amazing brand. You know, like I think a lot of times people who are creating stuff, like it's like, okay, I want to create things for like Bounty fucking paper towels, you know, like, do I have any experience working with brands like that or any type of products and stuff like that? It's like, if I don't, then being able to like solidify that gig or explain to this person that I'm qualified to do that may be difficult. But making like stuff for like, maybe it's like a lower end like paper towel company and like they don't really pay that well, but they gave me the creative freedom. Like now I can kind of show them, you can trust me. I promise you I will make it good as long as you pay me this, you know? And so I think it's just important to just kind of like differentiate the pain projects versus the rainbow projects. Cause like going back to what you're saying, where it's like, what if they're super strict about this? It's like, well, they better be paying well.
Yes.
Because if not, then it's like, what's worth the pain, you know? And it's okay that not every project is a rainbow project. Like, it's okay that every day isn't an amazing day. It's okay that like every day you wake up, you're not energized and want to work. Like, I feel like there's so many times where people are like, you love what you do. And when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. It's like, no, it feels like work. I love what I do, but like, this is exhausting. Like it's just that.
Wow. I love the book, by the way. We're going to buy it and we're going to read. And I love what you said about the discipline, the concept of, yes, we love what we do, but not every day is the rainbow day or you get the rainbow client. Most of the days you are facing challenges. There are struggles. There is pain. There is creative block. There are so many obstacles on the way that sometimes when you think back and you look back, you're like, oh, why am I even doing this? But it's the drive and it's the result at the end. But
at the end of the day, this is what I'd rather do over anything else because this is building me. This is building what I want to build, right? I'd rather do this over building somebody else. That's the whole reason why we started this. And I'm assuming it's the same thing for you. And I believe a lot of people will have that same feeling at some point when they're working. They want to do something for themselves. They want to work on their art, their music, something, right? And the concept of the pain projects and the rainbow projects is so cool. I want to bring it back to your content creation. And the reason why we always push people to create content, because I feel like you'll always start with a lot of pain projects, very little rainbow projects. But if you start
Yeah.
creating content, I feel like you can start balancing these out. And as you increase your following, basically you're increasing your credibility where you can go to your rainbow projects and actually have them pay you well, which is why
Yes.
these numbers, these followers, it's not really about the numbers. It's about you having the credibility when you're working with people now. They understand that you've done great work in the past and it's your portfolio. So you can now do more rainbow projects. So have you seen that as well? Have you seen these two balance out over the past year, I assume, since you've done a lot more content?
Dramatically.
Right.
Like I feel like I'm very, very fortunate to be in this position where almost every project is a rainbow project.
Yes.
And I feel like I've been doing this for 10 years. Like I've been working in After Effects for 10 years. And so I feel like now I'm able to see the brighter side of things. And I think a big part of that has come with like that self-talk. Like knowing that there's something like big, knowing that it's possible, I think has really made me feel hopeful. And I heard this quote the other day that said, and I may butcher this, but it was like, if you keep going, you could make it. But if you don't, you're for sure not.
Definitely not making it.
So good. So good.
And so it just like made me feel like if I could just stay consistent with myself and learn what works for me and learn what doesn't work for me. Because there's days where like I feel unmotivated. There's days where, you know, I don't want to, you know, do anything, even when it is a rainbow project. I feel like learning my body and being in tune to like who I am as a person has significantly helped like me and my drive and my passion for like wanting to create and like wake up every morning and work on these projects. Like it's such an amazing thing that I feel like has been put in front of me. Like the opportunities that I've been able to have is just mind blowing, honestly. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's honestly been such a pleasure chatting with you and getting all these ideas. I've learned so much. And Farad, if you don't mind, I want to get a little bit technical.
Yeah, sure. I
Okay.
actually had a question about that too, but
Yeah,
go ahead.
Is it about the 3D After Effects or?
Similar, but you can go first.
Okay, all right. So you posted a video about the fact that now in After Effects you can do 3D work, right? Now, you can render in 3D. I believe there's like the lights and shadows reacting because most of our content is 3D. We work a lot with Blender, with Unreal Engine. I saw you've done some really cool videos where I believe your partner was working in Unreal Engine and then you were mixing things together. What are the tools that you're using today? And also, I just want you to expand on 3D and After Effects. How is that working right now? What are the stuff that you worked on when it comes to 3D?
Yeah. So right now, the big stuff that I'm trying to learn is Redshift. So I'm spending my 2024 resolution, spend an hour a day watching a Redshift tutorial. And so I just want to get better at Redshift. And I think the difficulty with learning a brand new program is that I'm so used to After Effects and I'm so used to it being like, oh, I know this, I know how to do this. And like going from knowing everything to knowing nothing. Is big, you know, but I feel like I'm learning how to like manage that. You know, I'm not putting this pressure on me that I need to like be the most amazing like Redshift like creator ever. Like I just want to learn it. And so that's allowed me to be able to like learn it and ease my way into it. And I just been wanting to learn Redshift more just because I feel like there have been like environments and different things that I've wanted to create that I was very limited to with just my current knowledge. And then with After Effects, so the 3D stuff honestly is so crazy because I never thought that there would be a day that you could bring in 3D models into After Effects. I think it's new. And so the expectation that it's going to be like, it's going to overtake Octane or Redshift it's not meant to do that. Like, I feel like what its primary purpose is being able to, its primary purpose is to be able to create like 3D animations within After Effects' UI, which I think is a really awesome thing. Because I know After Effects' UI. Like I obviously like have been spending a whole bunch of time in that in comparison to like Cinema 4D, you know? And so I think with understanding like the limitations that it may have in comparison to like a 3D renderer like Octane and Redshift, you could go into it not expecting that, you know? Like I don't think that they were like, yo, we're about to change the game.
Yes.
We're about to, you know, make Redshift go out of business. I think it's able to provide motion graphics artists the accessibility of being able to work in 3D in After Effects,
Right.
which I think is really, really cool.
Absolutely. I think up until now, I mean, before this, Elements 3D, what's it called? I believe a lot of people were using to bring in
Video
3D.
Copilot.
Yes. Right. And then some people were going to Cinema 4D. So now the more basic things that you had to just go learn a new software for, you can do in After Effects. That's the whole point.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I think is kind of the big grab in that. And then also they have Substance Painter.
Oh, yeah,
which
that's
is like
amazing.
a separate subscription, which like I hate till this day.
Really?
I hate mapping, I hate texturing, I hate all that stuff. But like in Painter, it's like I'm able to use my knowledge of Photoshop and like implement it into that. And so that has helped me out a bunch.
Wow.
Yeah. The Substance Painter, I love. It's amazing.
So for
Yeah.
someone who's watching and who's looking at your content now, what would be your advice for them to start? If they just want to start, this is their day one, how should they start learning? What is the best source? Where should they go? Should they go to college? Should they watch YouTube videos?
Yeah, I think college is a scam. I think art school is a scam. Considering that there's just so much free knowledge out there, I think that it can seem. I went to college, like I spent $100,000 on a degree, but I just think that there's so much free knowledge out there, and there's even knowledge out there that isn't free but is not $100,000, you know, and so. A big thing that I have really learned from was School of Motion, and that's actually the creator of that book, The Freelance Manifesto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I took a course, the Advanced Motion Methods course, but I think they have like other beginner courses as well. That has super helped because it's not only like the tutorials, but you also get like mentorship in there. So they critique your homework and stuff, and you get to work with them and ask them questions. And I think that is very helpful. Skillshare is like another like great source. These are all like, you know, paid things, but it's a lot less money than a college degree. But then there's obviously like YouTube tutorials that like people make on a day-to-day basis where it's very like beginners. I would say that there is less advanced like tutorials out there than there is beginners. There's a whole bunch of beginner tutorials out there. It's just like finding what works. I think one big thing is create a routine, create a daily routine that works with you. Like if you have kids, if you're going to school, or if you're doing something, figure out what time you can dedicate to creating. Like if we can spend a time, like an hour or two on TikTok, we could spend an hour or two like just learning and trying to get better. Like, and you don't have to do it. I think a lot of times people, like when they watch an hour-long tutorial, they're just like, oh God, like I can't stay awake. And that's totally fine. You don't have to feel like you have to be like, oh my God, I love this tutorial. You know, like that's just not realistic. So one thing that works for me is I do a Pomodoro timer. So it's basically like, it's been studied that this has like significantly increases your concentration and your ability to retain information.
How does it work?
Wait, Pomodoro timer?
We never heard about it.
Pomodoro timer. So
Okay,
this
what is that?
has changed my
Okay.
life. Okay.
Let's listen.
So people who are like studying for like their PhD or like they're like going to like law school and stuff use Pomodoro timers. So basically what it does is it's a 25-minute timer. So you work for 25 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. then you work for 25 minutes and you take a 5-minute break, and you work for 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break, work for 25 minutes, take a 15-minute break. So what that does is you create short interval breaks in between your work. And when I first heard about it, I was like, I don't know if that's really going to work with me, because when I'm in the flow of things, I can't really just take a break and like blah, blah, blah. I have significantly seen like a change like over time with like, oh shit, it's my break time. And like, I am working like more, I don't feel so exhausted at the end of the day, because I am taking these breaks, and it's forcing me to like take a step back and like go do something else, or go look at something else, go outside, go do stretches. And then I come back, and it's not a whole bunch of time to where you're just going to forget, like, where was I? You know, like, I think that was like a big fear that I had, was like, I was going to come back and just be like, I don't know what I was doing, you know? And so having those short breaks has allowed me to retain the information of the tutorial that I'm watching better, and has allowed me to like concentrate more, because I could work for 25 minutes. Like, that's not a lot of time at all. But like, put an hour and it's on a tutorial, like I may be like dozing off a little bit, but like, that's what I'm saying, where it's just like finding what works for you. Like, my way of learning may be different from someone else's way of learning, but like finding those limitations. If you're finding that you're getting tired after like an hour of work, maybe pull back. Maybe you work only 30 minutes, and maybe like you take a break in between that time. But what this study had basically shown was that if you take short interval breaks in between working, you have better cognitive functions, you have better levels of concentration, and I'm all for it. Like,
I'm gonna give it a
we
try.
are trying
Definitely,
that.
100%.
It probably has something to do with your neuroplasticity as well. I believe Dr. Andrew Huberman was talking about something like that as well, where these breaks and also naps, like one yoga nidra nap that we do, by the way, during the day, will help you not only stay awake longer during the day, but also be able to perform for longer periods of time, plus retain information. So if you're studying for an exam and you need to memorize a lot of shit, you can do it with that 25 minutes, 5-minute thing.
Yeah.
We've tried something like that unconsciously. Like, we probably had to do, just go outside, talk to friends, come back. I realized sometimes that works a lot. So I'm going to make sure I'm intentionally.
Gonna do the exact same thing. 25-5, 25-5, 25-15, right? That was the routine.
Yeah. So on the fourth one, it's a 15-minute break. And so it's good, because like I use just like there's like a website where it's like Pomodoro timer, and you just set it. And then I have it's like cheep cheep. It's like a little bird that like lets me know like, oh, it's time to
take a break,
hop off. And it's not that long of a break, but it's also not that short of a break to where you're like you could take a step back, and you don't realize how long 5 minutes are until you like aren't on your computer and you're like away and like not thinking about it. So yeah,
we're gonna give it a try. We're definitely gonna give it a try. Quick shout out to School of Motion. We actually know the guys as well. EJ from School of Motion. Really cool place to go and learn things. Yeah, he's amazing, isn't he?
Yeah, he's phenomenal. We go to I go to Camp MoGraph every year.
Oh, you do? I've never been. How is it?
You should go. It's just so awesome. You're just around a whole bunch of nerds, and it's just great. And so he brings beer tasting like every year. So I'm the reigning beer pong champion 2 years ago.
Really? Wow.
Oh my God. Okay, Farah, we gotta go there and beat people. Come on, we gotta go there.
Yeah. You could try to dethrone me, but it hasn't happened yet.
Bad Decisions might be joining and trying to dethrone you next year. So just get ready for a new contender. Just saying. Okay.
I'm ready.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. So yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to School of Motion. They're awesome. I want to talk about something else that me and Farhad found on your page. I think it was the pinned post at the top, because I think this was pretty recent. But you're also the founder of Jumpstart Designers, and you did something so cool. Of course, with the help of some other great people, but this was a video that we saw from you. That's why we're just referring to you right now. But you were working with a team to ensure you can get tech, laptops, and other pieces of hardware to people, to students that need it and can't afford it, to artists who can now go ahead and start learning art the way you did with the right hardware. Watching that video was so amazing because the amount of time and effort that you had to spend to get that video done, not the video itself, but to make sure that video will happen, right? To be able to reach out to all those people across the country.
Pack it, ship it. Oh my God. But it
2
was
years,
so
right?
beautiful
2
to
years
watch
of
it. Was
work?
it 2 years? 2 years
Yeah.
of work?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Almost 3 years. Yeah. It's been crazy. And like literally the team is me, my old manager from CBS, she volunteers, and then our web designer.
Wow.
And that's about it. And like literally these past 2 years, so like I've hired like a CPA and I've hired like an attorney, but like everyone, like I talk to everyone, but no one talks to each other. And so it is absolutely insane to like run this thing. And like this is my longest project. Like this has been almost 3 years in the making. And it's crazy because like on a day-to-day basis, you're not seeing this like change happen. It wasn't until we actually made it happen. We got the computer to the kids that were like, oh my God, we did it. You know, like it was an absolute just crazy thing to be able to do. Cause I feel like this is definitely like the biggest thing that I've ever done in my entire life. And I'm so proud to be able to do this because it's something that I wish that I had growing up, where like my mom, like her credit card declined when we first got like my laptop, this $300 laptop, like we couldn't even afford that. And so like it ended up being to where like months later I was able to get that laptop. And it changed my life. I was in the school newspaper for most likely to win an artistic award. And it was because I had that laptop.
Was that the drive? Was that the drive to start this?
Was that the drive?
Yeah. Was that the drive to start all of this?
Yeah, like I think what had really made me realize, and I think it goes back to that self-talk where it's like, oh, this is possible. Because at that moment when I couldn't get the laptop, I had realized this is not possible. Like my dreams were reliant on having money. And it was like that was a dream killer. Like knowing that I wasn't able to do the thing that I wanted to do strictly, not because I didn't have passion and not because I didn't have creativity, but strictly because I didn't have money. And so I had realized like how shitty that felt and how many other kids don't get to live out their dreams. How many kids' dreams get squashed because they don't have access to that. And so it just made me want to do this. And it was something that I thought that I was going to do like way later in life. But because digital art has absolutely changed my life, it has allowed me to take time and take money and spend it into making this possible. And so I feel like the more love that I've gotten through digital art, the more love I've been able to give. And so like doing this project has just really made me feel so like fortunate. Like I feel so privileged to be able to be in this position. I feel like it's so cool. And I think everyone has the ability to like make just like a little change, like a little effort. Like it doesn't have to, like you don't have to make your own nonprofit and like go and do all this stuff. But I do think that we all have it in us to like spend a few minutes like out of our day or week or month or year where we can like help somebody. And I think being able to do that, it feels good. It feels like
almost selfishly good.
I don't know how to
Almost
explain it.
selfishly good. It does. I actually agree with you.
Seriously. Yeah. No, it is this feeling of like, it feels good to help people. Like it feels good to be like I feel like we exist to coexist with other people. And if we're not helping each other out, and it doesn't mean that like we have to spend this insane amount of energy. I think it takes a little bit of energy, but it's just that intention, I think, is what matters.
It's truly beautiful what you did. And honestly, again, I have not seen a lot of creators do what you did to that extent. Because again, 2 years of work, Then you went
establishing a nonprofit,
and then finding the right volunteers for it, partnering with people like Intel, making sure that you're getting all of these packs shipped to people. Because honestly, again, selfishly, you could have just spent all of that time on your art. You could have probably learned more Redshift, but you decided that you're going to be helping other people. And I just want to ask what your plans are for this year for Jumpstart Designers and how people could help people listening or watching this podcast if they do decide that they want to help.
Yeah, so our biggest thing is funding. We need money to make this possible. Like, I can volunteer as much effort as I can, but like, if we don't have money to get the equipment to the kids, it's basically like a non-functioning, program. And so our big thing is just getting as much support on like our program as much as we can, because that's like, I don't mind dedicating my time and taking time to figure this all out. Like, I will do the front end work as long as we have the money to make this possible. And so that's what I'm saying, where it's like that little bit of effort where it's like, you could just be a part of it in that sense, and it helps us a whole bunch. So yeah, definitely support on that end would be huge.
And how they can do that? Is there a website? Is there a page that they can go and visit?
Jumpstartdesigners.com, our beautiful website made by, we have two web designers. The Mikey, he made like our front end website, and then Brianna, she's made the student portal. So not only do we give these kids computers, but we give them mentorship, and we like teach them for 7 weeks. Like, they get to work with an expert. Like, we have Robbie Trevino, who's like an amazing digital like painter. He has created cards for like Magic the Gathering, like the actual illustrations for it. Like, yeah, we have like some amazing like mentors that are a part of this program. So she made the student portal for that as well. So
that is much okay. That's even bigger than I thought. Then okay, that's really cool. I recommend everybody, if you have the time, if you have the energy, please go check out the website. We'll leave the website also in the description. This is amazing.
This is really fantastic. And again, thank you for making that video, because I think the video and the content that you created was really impactful, especially the moment that you were giving the laptop to the kids. It was amazing. We loved it.
It was so cute. Their reactions were so, and I wish that I was there to see every kid, but obviously they're all over the country. But like, seeing them like, oh, it's a wacko castle.
Yes.
I was like, oh, my heart.
No, it's you've clearly helped all of them in a sense that now they can truly follow their passion.
I think you're going to get a lot of stories in the few years to come. They're going to email you. They're going to send you messages that like, look what I did with the laptop. Look what I did. So
thanks to you, I got this job. Thanks to you, I got this offer.
And it might be like 5 years from now. It might be 4 years from now that you get that email.
So we haven't announced it yet.
Okay. It's the first time here. Let's go.
I've been speaking with this amazing person who's like in the digital art space. His name is Brian, but he's gonna get all the students' final art piece shown and displayed and on screens in public in Belgium, like all over the country. Like
what?
It's gonna be, so this will be the first time that these kids like digital art is like displayed out in the world. And like, it's gonna be so huge, and I'm so excited for that to happen. Like, oh my gosh,
that is really cool. That is awesome. It means a lot, because again, especially if these kids have never created content before, this is probably the first time, like you said, this is being publicly displayed, and it always is sort of a motivation for you as an artist. When that happens, you're like, okay, I gotta keep working hard. I gotta keep learning. So that's gonna help them a lot more as well. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's adorable. They're like doing their mentorship right now. So I'm mentoring some of the students as well. So we have 2 like visual effects students, and it's so like refreshing to like, they're just so passionate. They just like really want to do this. And like, regardless of like, if they like become like this huge artist in the end, like that's not our goal. Our goal is just give them the opportunity to like be a part of it. And so like, it's just really awesome to see them be all like happy and excited. And they're like, oh, okay, this works. It's great to see.
I just wanted to ask you one more thing. You did mention that your goal was to learn Redshift, but I also want to maybe just expand on that. this year, 2024, since we're still early on, what do you think it's going to look like for you in terms of what you have planned? If we were to talk again for maybe another episode in a year's time, what do you think you'd like to achieve?
Okay.
Did I put you on the spot for this?
No. I just want to have a good answer because it's a good question. What I want to achieve is I want to be in a closer place or a closer step to building a family. I think that I'm so excited and I'm so happy with where I am in my career that like I want to sit in it and I want to create without the expectation of like reaching for like 500,000 followers or 1 million followers. If it happens, it happens. I feel like I met my goal and I feel like I can expand on like my life and my journey. And like, I think building a family with my partner is something that like I am super looking forward to, and like figuring out how to navigate that while being an artist, like I think is a very beautiful thing. And so that's one thing 2024 I'm like really looking forward to.
That is awesome to hear.
Super
and
corny, but
that's awesome to hear. And when we talk again, we'll see where that goes. I'm looking forward to it, honestly. I hope it's going to be a fantastic year for you.
I hope so too. I got a big project coming up like in these next few weeks, and oh my God. I cannot wait to. Like, it is by far the biggest gig that I've ever had name-wise. So, and I'm working on it currently.
Oh, it's still under
when
NDA?
I'm done with this call, I got to finish the project.
Okay.
I can't say it.
Okay.
Maybe we'll try to secretly get it out after we stop recording, guys, just to let you guys know. Just kidding.
It is something big, something gigantic.
Wow.
Okay.
Then we look forward to see it on your social media.
I think we're going to see it there, right?
You're going to post about it, right?
You'll see it in February. I could get
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
I love it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. We learned so much. We're going to go ahead and try that. What was it? Pomodoro timer? Am I getting
Pomodoro timer.
Pomodoro timer.
Pomodoro means tomato in Italian, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think it does. Yes. So tomato timer? Why tomato?
So back in the day, the kitchen timer used to look like a tomato, and so they would.
Okay, that makes sense now. Right. Okay.
okay.
Gonna try that. Also
Read the
about
book.
pre-production.
Reading
the book. We've got a lot to learn, so we're gonna go back, rewatch this, make sure we analyze. So
I'll put also all the links for the website, for
Yes.
your social media in the description below for whoever is listening, whoever is watching. Thank you very much for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
no worries at all. And thank you to every single one of you guys who watch and listen to this episode. We'll see you guys next week.
Ciao.